Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope your day and your weekend are going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes a new opportunity to go ahead and make some money. By the way, guys, today is December 1st, Kalomina, which in Greek means basically just have a good month. Have a good month. Happy 1st of December. It's officially Christmas month here. Got a lot of great content coming out as we get towards the holiday season and Christmas on the horizon. But for those who have been watching the video series for a while, you would know that the first of the month we always do a ladder challenge. Now, last month we were not too successful with it. We lost on the first day. We're going to go ahead and look to turn our luck around in this month. So yeah, got a good amount of picks coming your way. I have a ladder challenge, and I also have some single bets to go ahead and share with you guys afterwards. To avoid confusion, we're going to start off with the ladder challenge. I have a 2-leg parlay on DraftKings plus 126 odds. So we're going to start off with the ladder challenge, and then once we finish that, we'll go on to the single bets. I only have, I think, 3 or 4 for today's slate. We just barely missed the mark. These Freaky Friday, or actually yesterday was Sexy Saturday, these parlays were always so close. We just missed the mark yesterday. I think one person didn't play. Yeah, Cade Cunningham did not play last night for the Pistons, so it ended up being a 4-leg parlay. 3 out of 4 legs hit. The only one that did not hit was Trae Young. He sold on us. Only 5 assists. We had his over 9.5 assists. Trae Young. The hell, man. Come on. By the way, guys, if you're wondering why I look the way I look right now, I just am recording after my Turkey Bowl game. Every year we do our friends and family Turkey Bowl game the Sunday following Thanksgiving. So, still got the eye black on. I literally just got off the football field, flew home, and now we're recording the video here for you guys, a special one on a Sunday. No, I'm not a Lions fan, but I just think the Lions, these black uniforms they released this year are just so sick. I bought this the week that Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, before he got hurt. Came in the mail. He broke his leg. Coincidence? I hope it is. I hope it is. But yeah, these jerseys are just, look at this, man. Like, this is just sick. Like, the Lions, A+ job. I'm a jersey connoisseur. A+ job on the rebrand this year. But all right, guys, got a lot of picks to get to in today's slate. Let's go ahead and dive into today's picks, starting with our 2-leg parlay for the first day of our December ladder challenge. By the way, guys, if you are watching, go ahead and comment ladder down below. Let's go ahead and get this ladder challenge going. Let's get the support going. Let's see who's riding, who's fading. Just comment ladder down below if you're watching today's video. And in case you guys are curious, we did lose the Turkey Bowl by a pretty significant amount, but I got put in as the emergency quarterback in the fourth quarter. I threw 3 touchdowns, made it a more respectable game. So not to toot my own horn, but maybe I should have been starting quarterback the whole time. Who knows? But it's all fun. Nothing like playing a little outdoor football in 25-degree weather when you're washed up and older. Nothing like it. All right, guys. Our first of 2 legs in this first day of our ladder challenge is a little 2-leg parlay. Just to show you guys the 2-leg parlay, it is plus 126 odds. It's a DraftKings exclusive, unfortunately. These legs are not available on FanDuel, so if you're using FanDuel, I do apologize for that. I'm sure you can find some sort of alternatives. These particular lines are only available on DraftKings. So our first leg of this 2-leg parlay, we're going in the Pacers-Grizzlies game, 3:30 p.m. kickoff. So guys, as the minute this video drops, if you're tailing, go ahead and tail right away before it's too late. Again, apologies, this video is coming out a little later than it probably should be. But we got Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies over 19.5 points plus assists. We're getting this for minus 160 on DraftKings. And the data across the board is really solid on this prop. A 78% hit rate so far this year for Jaren Jackson Jr. 14 out of 18 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 23.5 points plus assists per game this season. 14 out of 18 games is not too shabby in my book. A really solid season for Jaren Jackson Jr., specifically on this line. He actually had cashed it, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight games he had cashed it before failing to catch it on the November 27th game against the Pistons. But then immediately got back to cashing in that November 29th game versus the Pelicans. So pretty good numbers there for Jaren Jackson Jr. And I'm going to go ahead and narrow that data down. 9 of his last 10 games, 90% hit rate, averaging 24 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. But if that data didn't convince you guys, the matchup and the head-to-head data is also very impressive for this prop. A 100% hit rate, kind of a small sample size, yes, but still pretty impressive, the data that we do have. Each of his last 2 meetings with the Indiana Pacers, both taking place last season, he went ahead and cashed the overs in both those games, averaging 25.5 points plus assists per game in those 2 meetings. against the Pacers. Last time they played in January 28th of last year, pretty big game for him too, 25 points and 4 assists in that one. Look at the right side of the screen here. The Pacers, not a very good defensive team. They are bottom 5 of the NBA in points allowed overall, giving up 118 points per game this season. They're also 13th in assists allowed overall, giving up just shy of 26 assists per game. Versus the centers and power forwards in particular, which is the two positions that Jaren Jackson Jr. plays between when he's on the court. Versus centers, the Pacers are 22nd in points allowed, 7th in assists allowed. And versus power forwards, they're 25th in points allowed and 13th in assists allowed. So whatever way you shake it up to be, they are bottom 10 in points allowed to either of those positions. The assist numbers are not as good versus centers, but overall, really good numbers. And again, he's mostly going to cash this in points. It's not like he's going to get a ton of assists. He had 4 assists the last time out. He had 1 assist in the previous meeting. Really, it's all about the points. In either position he plays, power forward or center, we got a pretty solid matchup either way. And the second leg of this parlay, we've got Nuggets Clippers, 10 p.m. tip-off. We got Nikola Jokić here, over 44.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. This is a very juiced line here, minus 255 on DraftKings. But it's super juiced for a reason here. He's cashed it at an 86% hit rate so far this season. 12 out of 14 games he's cashed it. We actually had cashed it in 11 consecutive games going into that November 25th game versus the Knicks, and then right back to cashing the very next game against Utah. So really good numbers there for Nikola Jokić, again, just like Jaren Jackson Jr. If we narrow it, actually almost the same pattern as well. Over the last 10 games, a 90% hit rate, 9 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 53.7 points plus rebounds plus assists over his last 10 games. So really good numbers across the board for Jokić. Even his last 20 games dating back to last year, an 80% hit rate. 16 of his last 20, he's cashed the over, averaging 51.9 points plus rebounds plus assists per game. And if all that didn't convince you guys, the head-to-head data also very solid on this prop as well. Each of his last 4 meetings with the LA Clippers, he's cashed the over, including the one time they played this year already back on October 26th, with some pretty outstanding numbers. He's averaging 55.25 points plus rebounds plus assists over his last 4 meetings with the Clippers. And again, the one time they played this year back on October 26th, he had 41 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists in that game. And overall, look at the head-to-head matchup versus centers. The Clippers, they're okay. They're not bad, but they're not good either. 17th in points allowed, 18th in assists allowed. They're actually 8th in rebounds, so they don't really give up a ton of rebounds. But kind of like the last prop, his numbers are mostly come from the points. The points and the assists. You see here, they're 18th in assists, 17th in points. Yeah, he's had a couple big rebounding games in there as well. But take the earlier meeting this season, for example, 41 points. He pretty much almost cashed entirely in points. He also dished in 9 rebounds and 4 assists. So overall, pretty solid matchup here, guys. It's a 2-leg parlay plus 126 odds. That's the first day of our NBA ladder challenge for the month of December. And I feel like maybe I should have explained this earlier in the video because I know there are some people out there who are new to this, and there's no judgment. We all had to start at some point. If you guys don't know what a ladder challenge is, essentially you start with 1 unit and you try to turn that 1 unit into, let's say, 100 units, something along those lines. The whole point is to just keep building and building and building your profit using that original unit. Ladder challenges are a fun way to kind of build up some quick payroll, not quick payroll, but to build up your payroll without necessarily investing a ton. You're really only putting down that first unit. If the ladder challenge loses the first day, you fall off the ladder, you're done. You don't put any more on. But if you keep winning, you keep using the profit, and you just keep throwing the profit each day on the new parlay, and you just keep building and building and building until we hit a certain goal, or you just keep going until you go. My goal is to make it a week. Let's see if we can get the ladder challenge going at least until Saturday. So let's see if we can get 6 days in a row of cashing this ladder challenge. That's kind of my goal here. Can we make it up 6 steps? So that's our first parlay, our first day of our December ladder challenge. 2-leg parlay plus 126 odds. Let's get a pretty good start here. Pretty good value on both those for plus money as well. Can't really beat it. All right, guys, with the parlay out of the way now, we're now moving on. So the picks from this point on are now no longer a part of the ladder challenge. Just those first 2 plays are the 2-leg parlay as a part of that ladder challenge. So from this point on, I'm just giving you guys a couple extra single bets that I found value on that I liked in today's slate. I have 4 picks coming your way here. The first single bet, we're targeting the Celtics-Cavs game, 6 p.m. tip-off tonight. We're going Derek White of the Boston Celtics over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. And pretty good value here, minus 130 odds here on FanDuel, minus 135 on DraftKings. Depending what sportsbooks you have available to you, you can actually probably get a little bit better. BetMGM, minus 120, minus 115 on Bet365. And the data is pretty solid here. Look at the last 10 games. 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, an 80% hit rate, averaging 9.7 rebounds plus assists per game over his last 10 games. So far in 2024, a 68% hit rate on this over for Derek White. 13 out of 19 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 9.16 rebounds plus assists per game. So pretty good numbers. if you look at the narrow view in the last 10 games and the season view overall, really good data here for Derek White. And the head-to-head data is pretty decent as well. 5 of his last 9 meetings against the Cavaliers, he's cashed the over. A 56% hit rate, averaging 9.11 rebounds plus assists per game. But if we narrow it down a little bit, he's cashed the over in each of his last 3 meetings with Cleveland, including the one time they played this year, just last week, I think. A little more than a week ago, I guess, about 10 days ago. He had 6 rebounds and 5 assists in that big win for Boston. So he's already cashed it once this year. Look at some of these misses, some pretty close misses early last year. 8 rebounds plus assists, 8 rebounds plus assists. The key thing to note here is that he's always in the vicinity of that line, which obviously is very important for us for cashing the over. Overall, Cleveland this year, 10th in rebounds allowed, 19th in assists allowed, so not the best matchup. But if we narrow it down to just shooting guards, which is where Derek White plays, they are bottom 10 in both those categories. 23rd in rebounds allowed, giving up 8.3 rebounds per game to opposing shooting guards, and 27th in assists allowed, one of the worst teams in the NBA, giving up 6.8 assists per game to opposing shooting guards. So a pretty good spot here for Derek White, and for minus 130 odds, pretty good value as well. So I like the over here for Derek White, over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. Next up, we got Kings and Spurs, 9 p.m. tip-off. I actually have 2 props coming from this game here. I like this spot a lot for Sacramento in this matchup. Our first of two props here, we're going DeMar DeRozan here of the Kings, over 25.5 points plus assists. DeMar DeRozan taking on his former team in the San Antonio Spurs. This is minus 104 on FanDuel too, so pretty decent value here. And the data across the board looks pretty solid. 73% hit rate so far this year. Now, you see a couple games lately, his numbers have dropped a little bit, but overall, a 73% hit rate this year for DeMar DeRozan. 11 out of 15 games he's cashed the over, averaging 26.73 points plus assists per game this season. And his last time out against the Thunder on November 25th, he had a pretty big game, 30 points and 6 assists, and what was kind of a tough defensive matchup there for DeMar DeRozan. Again, if we narrow it down to the last 10 games, the data is not as good, but it's still pretty solid. 60% hit rate, 6 of his last 10 games, still averaging 26.4 points plus assists per game, despite having some pretty low-scoring affairs. And the matchup seems to be pretty solid as well. 3 of his last 4 meetings against San Antonio Spurs. This, of course, dates back to last year as well as a member of the Chicago Bulls. But 3 of his last 4 meetings, he actually cashed the over, averaging 26.75 points plus assists per game against the Bulls over the last 4 meetings. So pretty good numbers here. 26.75 points plus assists, pretty good numbers. His one miss back on January 13th last year, he finished with 20 points and 4 assists in the game, a pretty close miss. They have played once this year already back on November 11th and was a massive loss there for Sacramento. Pretty impressive they lost that game by 20 to the Spurs. But he had 21 points and 6 assists in that game. So, yes, although the Kings didn't do very well, he performed pretty well. And overall, the data seems to be across the board pretty solid for DeRozan here. And the matchup, again, pretty solid. Versus shooting guards here, San Antonio 17th in points allowed, 21st in assists allowed. So bottom half of the league in both those categories. He already cashed it once this year. I don't see why he can't go ahead and do it again. So for minus 104 on FanDuel, really good value here. DeMar DeRozan over 25.5 points plus assists. And sticking with this game here, guys, I have another Sacramento Kings player and another over for a Kings player. We got Domantas Sabonis here, over 24.5 points plus assists in this matchup against the Spurs. Again, pretty good value, minus 105 odds here on DraftKings. And like the last few props, the data looks to be, for the value we're getting, the data is pretty solid. 7 of his last 10 games, Sabonis has cashed the over, a 70% hit rate, averaging 26.4 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. So really good numbers there. Overall in 2024, a 67% hit rate on the over for Sabonis, 12 out of 18 games, averaging 26.89 points plus assists per game this season. He hasn't finished a single game this year with less than 20 points plus assists, so even when he misses, he's still hovering that line. If you ask me, we're getting a pretty good value here. The line seems to be a little lower than it probably should be for a player like Sabonis. The head-to-head data also really solid. Each of his last 4 meetings against the San Antonio Spurs, including the one time they played this year back on November 11th, he's cashed the over. That's a 100% hit rate with an average of 33.5 points plus assists per game. He doesn't just cash the over when he plays the Spurs. He absolutely blows through it. It's an unbelievable run here for Sabonis against the Spurs. The one time they played this year, a little bit lower numbers, but last year in those 3 meetings, he crushed San Antonio. And again, the matchup makes a lot of sense here. The Spurs are bottom 10 in both points allowed and assists allowed to the center position. 23rd in points, 22nd assists, giving up 20 points and 3.8 assists per game against opposing centers. So it's a really good matchup. 100% hit rate versus the Spurs dating back to last year. 67% overall this year. Yeah, that's a lot of green. Seems like a recipe for a cash for me. All right, guys, on my final pick in today's slate, we have Nuggets Clippers, 10 p.m. tip-off. I'm going Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. We're getting this one for minus 115 on DraftKings. Again, really good value for a prop that has data that you would assume would be linked with a juice prop. Like, you know what I mean? When you do these alternate lines sometimes, including like the earlier one, like Jokić, minus 255, you would expect the numbers to be really, really good. To be this good, the numbers to be this good for a minus 115 line is very, very impressive. And believe it or not, it's a really solid matchup also. An 82% hit rate so far this year for Michael Porter Jr. on this line. 14 out of 17 games he's cashed the over, averaging 10.12 rebounds plus assists per game. So pretty good numbers. He's cashed it also in 5 consecutive games. Really good numbers across the board. If we narrow it down to just the last 10 games, a 90% hit rate for Michael Porter Jr., averaging 10.3 rebounds plus assists per game. And then narrow it even further, the last 5 games, really good numbers. 100% hit rate, 5 out of 5, averaging 12 rebounds plus assists per game. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Michael Porter Jr. has exceeded 8.5 rebounds plus assists in 5 of his last 6 games on the road. 10.5 rebounds plus assists per game average over his last 6 road games, an 83% hit rate. And if all that didn't do it for you, the head-to-head data is also very solid. 4 out of 5 games, including 4 straight games against the LA Clippers, he has cashed the over. It's an 80% hit rate, averaging 9.8 rebounds plus assists per game. Had a little bit of a low total there back on November 14th of last season, but since then, 4 consecutive cashes, including the one time they played this year on October 26th. He had 9 rebounds and 3 assists in a clear-cut cash in that game. So the data is really solid. Versus small forwards, the Clippers 23rd in rebounds allowed, bottom 10 in the NBA, giving up 8.7 rebounds per game, and they are top 2 in assists allowed, only giving up 3.2 assists per game. And actually, you look at those numbers, that's pretty much exactly what he did, 9 rebounds and 3 assists. So if they do their average, which, again, Michael Porter Jr. did the last game, we have a cash on the over. This line truly doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He's not in the injury report. We do see that Aaron Gordon is a game-time decision, Peyton Watson game-time decision, a couple injuries out. But overall, I don't really get why this line is where it's at. I would probably hop on this before it's too late, but this seems like a really solid spot for minus 115 odds too. Really good value here for Michael Porter Jr. So guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, guys, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we see you tomorrow for day 2 of our December ladder challenge. If not, we're still going to have a video regardless and still do our normal NBA player props. But we're hoping we get a little ladder challenge cash here. Let's see if we can't climb up a couple steps on that ladder. Till tomorrow, guys, and we're back for another NBA player prop video. I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Sunday, and make sure to go check out all the great content here on the channel. We have a ton of football videos up between myself, Trey, and Ev. So please go ahead and check all that out. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you're all winners.